In this lesson, we will look at the outcomes coaching model, and how you can use this model to better coach your team. The outcomes coaching model was designed by Alan McIntosh to enable managers and sales managers to undertake more structured and productive coaching sessions with their employees and sales executives than perhaps they have been used to. The increased structure provided managers with more depth to their coaching, and as such enables an increase in understanding, motivation and commitment to action than they may have experienced with other coaching models such as G.R.O.W. Outcomes provides more structure than G.R.O.W. simply by the fact that there are more distinct stages that a manager or coach must adhere to. However, once the managers understand the reasons for the extra steps, and the fact that if managers use this model carefully, McIntosh argues, they will get good results. There are some similarities between the outcomes model and the G.R.O.W. model, though of course the former is more detailed. Outcomes stands for, O stands for objectives. U stands for understand. T stands for take stock. C stands for clarify. O stands for options generation. M stands for motivation to action. E stands for enthusiasm and encouragement. And S, support. This objective step is similar to the G and the G.R.O.W. model. In this stage you are working to understand what the team member is trying to achieve from either the coaching session or their objectives. Again, this is a conversation and a learning process, not just a directive. Here are some questions you could ask at this stage. What specifically do you want to achieve in this coaching process? How specifically can I help you achieve your objectives? How will you know that we have achieved our objectives for this coaching program? Be careful when accepting outcomes or objectives. Sometimes employees can come with weird and wonderful challenges and ideas, and many expect solutions from the coaching sessions. Manage their expectations and break down the challenge or idea into manageable chunks, so that you achieve something every session on the way to achieving the overall objective. Some objectives need to be broken down this way into smaller objectives and actions, before the overall objective is realized. We will use an example dialogue between a manager and her employee Jonathan, to explore how this model is applied. Notice how the manager at this stage asks the employee how she can help. In this case, the employee needs help with a report.
Jonathan, what specifically would you like to achieve over the next half hour? Anything in particular you would like support on? If there was one thing in particular which, if you could find a better way forward, it would help your progress, what would it be?
The next step in the model is understanding. Understanding the reasons behind wanting to achieve the identified objectives is what is required during this step. This is a vital step. More often than not, employees either understretch or overstretch their objectives. In sales, for example, one of the main understretches is wanting to simply build rapport and fact-find within a sales call, as opposed to actually sell anything on the first visit. By understanding the reasons behind the rapport objective, a manager can support and challenge a salesperson to achieve both those objectives together with starting the selling process. A good coaching manager will seek to establish why a particular objective is looking to be achieved. Once this has been established, it not only helps the manager to understand, but also reinforces the drive in the employee to attempt to achieve the objective. Have a look at the conversation. In this conversation, it would have been easy for the manager to suddenly jump in and start giving advice as to how to finish the report. This is the typical manager's response. But, the manager, by asking the question as to why it is important for Jonathan to get the report right and on time, is ensuring that Jonathan is identifying and reinforcing within himself the need to get this report right. He is now more open to the manager's coaching, and the manager is now more aware of Jonathan's desire to get the report right.
This report that you have to get completed, tell me why it is important to you that you get this report done, and on time.
The next step, taking stock, is similar to the reality step in the G.R.O.W. model. Your goal is to take stock of the current situation. It's important to spend time analyzing the present situation, so that a manager can establish a performance baseline. And then from that baseline, you have something to measure change in performance by. If we continue the coaching conversation involving the manager and Jonathan, the next stage of the outcomes model is to ensure that both parties have a complete understanding of where Jonathan is in relation to the overall objective, which is to ensure that he has the tools and drive to complete the report. Now, read through this example conversation. You will see that the manager uses this conversation to establish the current situation in some detail, and now knows where and how she can assist Jonathan.
So, Jonathan, it transpires that you have a report to finish by next week, and that you feel you are slightly behind with this. Okay. Tell me more about exactly what stage you're at with the report. What information specifically do you feel you need? If you were able to access this data, would this be sufficient to complete the report? If we got you support to be able to graph the figures, would this mean you could now complete the report? Okay. So basically you have a report to finish by the end of next week, and in order to do this you need to access 3 years sales data for product 10, and learn how to graph these figures.
Clarify refers to clarifying the gap between where the team member is now, and where they need to get to, in order to achieve their objective. Sometimes with the G.R.O.W model, an inexperienced coach or manager can perhaps jump from reality to options, without fully understanding the gap that has to be crossed or filled. They can go straight to the how, without fully understanding the what. By clarifying, you make sure that you are both in agreement, as to exactly what change, progress, or development is that needs to happen. It is important that the manager now fully establishes exactly what has to be done in order for the employee to realize their objective, to clarify the gap. Let's follow the manager's coaching with Jonathan. We can see here that the manager has established the precise way in which he can help Jonathan achieve his goals, using these statements.
Jonathan, exactly what sales figures do you require to finish this report? Anything else you would like or need? Okay. So if we can enable you to get the figures that you require, plus support to graph it and present it professionally, you will have achieved your outcome.
Similar to the options in G.R.O.W, in this step the goal is generating all the possible options for moving forward. While the first options to occur may seem like the best, this step should involve some brainstorming. How many managers ask, if there was one other way you could do it, what would it be? The pros and cons of each option need to be discussed. This stage can take time, and many managers just go through the motions, or worse, manipulate their employee with leading questions that enable the person to come up with the options the manager wants to hear. Instead, take your time, and allow the person to generate their own options. Let's look at an example of how this can be done. In this example conversation, the manager continues to coach Jonathan by asking questions about where he might find the information, rather than just telling him where to get all these figures, etc. She asks the following questions.
In terms of sales figures, what have you done so far in attempting to get these? Where else could you try? Anything else you could do? So, where are you now with the way forward? And the graphs and binding.
The next step in the model is motivate to action. Once the options have been discussed, and the best way forward agreed, the manager must check the motivation of the person to move on the actions. Are they agreeing to actions because that is what they think the manager wants to hear, or are they really motivated to move on the actions? The manager must have the ability to check this, and challenge any signs of demotivation. In this example conversation, we can see that the manager focuses on the employee's self-confidence, and offers to provide assistance to ensure the employee continues with the assignment.
Great! How confident do you feel about approaching these departments? What do you need to make you feel more confident? Sure, just say I sent you over, and you are probably best to seek out James in IT, and Sally in sales.
The enthusiasm and encouragement stage, and the one that follows, are ones that continue through the rest of the coaching process. The manager must at all times show enthusiasm for the objectives ahead, and encourage the person to do as best they can. If you falter in your enthusiasm and encouragement, you will risk the team member becoming demotivated very easily. At this stage the employee should be motivated to action, and now it needs some reinforcement from the manager. We can see in this example conversation that the manager uses praise to maintain motivation. It doesn't take long to say, but it can be worth one hell of a lot to an employee to hear these words. Sadly, too many managers fail at this point. Also, very few managers actually offer any form of support, and the last stage of the outcomes model is to ensure that support is discussed.
I am pleased with your progress, Jonathan, since you have been with us. Keep up the good work, and thanks for the effort that you are putting in.
The final stage in the model is support. The manager must always show support for the team member in the tasks agreed upon, and must also ask if there is any support that they need, in order to assist the team member. An example of this could be a sales executive, asking their sales manager to sit in on a sales call, and be ready to answer any difficult questions the customer may ask. Recognize as well, that there may be times when the performance plan that you've been coaching your employee through will need to change, as the organization changes. It will be your role to support the team member through any alterations to their activities, in order to come into alignment with the new needs and priorities. We can see in this example conversation, that the manager is ensuring that Jonathan knows she is there, if he needs further help.
Is there any way I can be of support in enabling you to complete the reports? Sure. Try these people and their departments first. I am sure they will help you out. If you need any help at all, just contact me.
We come to the end of our coaching conversation, and we have a situation where the employee, Jonathan, has come with an issue and left with action and motivation, coupled with the satisfaction in knowing that his manager is there, if he ever needs support. Obviously, it is not always this simple, and that there will always be situations where the coaching conversation will be more complex, but this example gives you a flavor of how to use the outcomes coaching model. Coaching is one of the activities and skills that defines leadership. The G.R.O.W model provides a simple, but highly effective framework for applying a coaching strategy. The outcomes model in a business coaching context offers some advantages over the G.R.O.W model. It is more structured and specific than G.R.O.W, in that it has more specific steps that a manager must go through. In addition, there is more explicit emphasis placed on understanding, performance gap analysis, support and motivation. Subscribe now and join us in your career journey. Want to learn more? Click on one of our websites to view our range of online business and management courses.